She was always a very interesting person and very positive, and was very clear in what she wanted of life.
I got to know Gloria Henry through my wife, actually. They were both activists of the Tapia House movement.
We both attended Nelson Street Girls, and they were good friends.
She did not come from any privileged background.
But I knew she was going to be something great.
Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman.
Actually, I have been interested in politics since 1956, when I was 10 years old. My mother was one of those people who got excited by the politics of 1956. So we paid attention.
Here is a woman who emerged from virtually behind the bridge and rose to political prominence. Gloria would have known life at, let's say, at the lower rung of society. She would have driven herself beyond that and become the very strong and, was able to be in a position to display the intelligence that she possessed.
When I went to UWI, we were involved in New World movement, which was exciting because you met some of the exciting people, Edwin Carrington, Lloyd Besson, people like that, people who talked and thought. In 1976, I was one of Tapia's contestants in the general elections. Of course, we all lost our deposits. In 1986, I joined the NAR, basically to help the candidate in a REMA. And I was asked to go for screening. I was a little reluctant because I had children in school and I knew it was going to take too much of my time. I was very much aware that by the end of 5 years, I would have no small children. I'd have no children. My 2 children would have been out of school. My daughter would have finished 6th form, my son would have finished 6th form, and their cousin who was living with us would have been in about Form 5. So I would have spent 5 critical years doing other people's business and not minding my own business. So it was a difficult decision to make, but I made it. And they survived, actually. They did quite well. I became the candidate for Aruka South, and well, that's where much of the excitement started. Actually, I was Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Pandey was the minister. And when the first shift took place, I moved to Industry and Tourism with Mr. Kenneth Gordon. I became Minister of Social Development and Family Services. And after 1990, when we had to make another change, I moved again, then to Ministry of Education. That was just 1 year.
I know she had a special inclination towards caring for children. I think she was concerned about the strength of the family unit. She would always be virtually preaching that, it is the family unit that really determines how a person evolves.
Because we came from a very close family, and as such, there would be things about family that you would be able to see. It should be for all families, not our family alone.
And of course, when she became Minister of Education, that didn't stop her from wanting to ensure that children are not led astray, and that children get the best that the state has to offer.
Actually, I can't take personal credit for anything that happened, because, as I said, I had a good team to work with. The PERMSEC in the Ministry of Social Development, my personal assistant, and some of the other professionals in the ministry.
It may sound cliche that Gloria was a very, very intelligent, very hardworking, very honest, and a person willing to put what she believed into practice.
We had to work on the domestic violence legislation. The first Domestic Violence Act we had. It's been amended a couple of times since. But that domestic violence bill actually had a lot of input from people in the community, people in the women's community in particular. The Domestic Violence Act, I think, was the most important act that we had to bring to Parliament from that ministry. In order to support the act, we had trained police officers. We had a corps of people who were trainers, who trained police officers to implement the act, to be supportive of the act. The social development approach was somewhat new for us as a country. It wasn't social welfare. It was social development, and it was important because of the economic conditions of the time, the need to put in a social safety net for those who were affected most negatively by the IMF conditionalities. And there was also the need to put into focus some of the things that had been, let's say, on the back burner before. At the time, there was a lot of noise about what we didn't have and who was wicked and whatnot. But the NAR did not invent poverty. We had inherited poverty from a boom time.
At 6 p.m. this afternoon, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was overthrown. The Prime Minister and members of the cabinet are under arrest.
We both suffered in July 1990 when she was a hostage, one of the few female hostages in the Parliament. So we had an even closer bond as a result of that experience.
For me, it was a really trying time because I am very close to my sister, and to know that there's a possibility that she would not come out there alive, that was a traumatic experience. It was really cause for some concern, notwithstanding the fact that I was hearing that everything would be all right.
When the insurgents came into the house, we had to scramble. Well, you're not expecting that. Our first indication something was happening was when we heard a gunshot in the street. I don't know when and where and who died as a result of that gunshot. Afterwards, we discovered that somebody was shot on the stairs going up to the Parliament chamber. And they came in and they started to make noise. And we just had to spend the night lying on the ground listening to their rattle.
Something that shows there's a strength, Gloria's strength, is having been able to emerge out of that very harrowing experience and not be broken. I mean, and not be bitter.
It was possible to have nightmares after. I never had a nightmare. I decided not to have a nightmare. Because I knew what could happen, and therefore I decided how to deal with it. I think that people have, in general, a low opinion of politicians. Rightly or wrongly, I can't say. But I can't subscribe to the ethics of political activity. Because another thing that always bothers me about the whole politics is the corruption, that people assume you will be corrupt and they make improper approaches. This is why I'm not in politics anymore. They make improper approaches, and it's difficult to be polite or diplomatic when you have to deal with people who assume that you are corrupt. It's not part of my ethic, my personal ethic, and if I can't deal with it. Not that I can't, I don't. I do not want that kind of activity again. I may help people who are involved in politics with their campaigning or whatever. I may, if I feel that I could do it. But I'm not interested in becoming a politician, an elected politician again. Once is enough.
Gloria was of a different sort. So that, I mean, the integrity, the honesty, the passion, the commitment, the selflessness that she possessed was extremely important.
Her advocacy would be the main legacy that she would have left.
A woman committed to working to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place. If we saw that and were able to understand and appreciate that, we would have done her life justice.